All right, welcome back to Hawaii Real, everybody. I'm your host, Ioke Ehu, and I have a special edition for you guys here today, mostly for your law enforcement out there. This is a SHOPO edition. We have some candidates that have come on the show and wanted to really express their opinions and their thought processes as they go through in this election coming up. And I wanted to bring them on and introduce themselves and go into a little bit of conversation about what they are choosing to bring to the union as they go through this election process. Okay, and here we go. Go to the round table, and we have sitting next to me.
Aloha, everybody. My name is Robert Cavaco, and I want to be your next SHOPO president. And I thought it'd be a good time today to sit down with everybody in EO. And here's everybody else. Go ahead, John.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Singh, and I am running for the position of secretary.
Hi, everybody. My name's Steve Keogh. I'm looking to be the next state board treasurer, and I'm happy to be here.
Aloha, everybody. I'm Derek Pa, and I'm asking for your support in the director at large position.
Aloha, everybody. Sean Cavaco, running for director at large. Thank you for joining us.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. Take time out of your day and showing your support for not just law enforcement, but for the whole union and all the members statewide, not just Oahu. But you just wanted to go around and say, okay, you guys introduce yourselves. Robert, you're already in SHOPO.
Yes.
And what are you looking to bring as far as the election going? What do you want to bring out to the voters?
Well, right now I'm the current vice president. Just a little bit of background in my SHOPO career. I have 19 years in SHOPO. Started from the bottom as a shop steward, became a district director, and then became the Honolulu vice chair. And then I did one term as the Honolulu chapter chair. I had done a lot of thinking about this election on what I want to see where this organization goes over the next 4 years. And I have a lot of ideas a lot of fresh ideas that I'd like to bring to the board that we can really improve this organization, which is for the members and the membership. And I think one of the things that we should discuss today is the possibility where we can look at doing a dues reduction. If you look at the union's finances currently, we are in excellent health. Our assets are approaching nearly $11 million. Back in 2012, or was it 2013, SHOPO purchased the building next door to 1717 Ho Street in Honolulu, and the union paid cash. So it depleted our building fund, and we ended up having to raise the dues to its current format of $80 a month in order to replenish that building fund and also replenish our legal defense fund, because we had a lot of arbitrations going on at that time. So we had quite a few arbitrations that we had to expend money on. But now those two funds have been, built up to, a little over $1 million for the legal defense fund and whatnot. So my thought on why I want to reduce the dues is that I did some homework. I looked at the numbers, and I know we can do it. And I think the board needs to take a long, hard look on it. It's time to give back to the members and the membership. If the union is in good financial health, and if a board member produces a plan that says we could reduce the membership dues, it should be done. And if the treasurer okays it, and we don't have to decrease any benefits for the members, we don't have to lay anybody off in the organization as far as our staff, we can keep everything status quo, then I think it's a good thing that we need to do.
So, Robert, let me ask, what's the counter argument to reducing the dues? You said it was $80 a month. In the grand scheme of things, some people say that's a lot. Some people might say, oh, that's not that much. I want to pay, sufficient dues so that my union can protect me and can do its due diligence and do all the things that it needs to do.
So the counter argument on to keep the dues
correct
the same.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the whole idea behind this is giving back to the membership, because even if we only can do it for a year or two, we're in a pandemic. Members' spouses, some of our members, their spouses lost their job. We only have one source of income. So if we can give back just a little bit, here, it's going to go a long way to the member, that now they're paying less dues, but they're still receiving the same benefits. That's my take on it.
Right. So the benefits won't change.
Benefits won't change. As far as the staff, our office staff on our outer islands and in our Honolulu office, it'll remain the same.
Right. Nobody in the office staff will get a pay cut or anything like that, right?
We can keep it status quo. And that's why, and I've talked this over with Steve because Steve is running for the treasurer spot. There's so many different ways, we can do it. And we'll touch on, fiscal responsibility later, I'm sure. But, with that and what we have in our current investments, I believe that it can get done. Yeah. Whether it's $20, whether it's $10, that's something for the future board that gets elected to discuss the amount when the treasurer gets in there and then can take a look at the books and see how can it be done.
Bobby, EO, thanks for hosting us.
Oh, yeah.
It's great to be here. Bobby brought up some great points, and I think his comments are under a bigger umbrella of union transparency when it comes to our finances. $20 is not that big of a reduction, but for me, if we can go ahead and operate efficiently and effectively and do it where it's less money out of pocket, that's a win. That's a win. And I know in many talks with Bobby that if we have the opportunity to serve our members statewide, the individuals that I'm sitting next to are going to go in, look at everything. We can't make a ton of promises yet because we don't know exactly what we're looking at. But all of us here can promise fiscal responsibility. As the treasurer, I will be fiscally responsible. I will be a good steward of our members' money. When it comes to money, we have an obligation to be transparent. And if our members have questions, we need to answer those questions, and we need to do it in an open and inviting way. For me, if a member is paying close to $1,000 a year to be part of our organization, it's irrelevant to me as the treasurer if they've ever voted before, if they've ever looked at the SHOPO boards in the district offices, whether they've participated or not. Just them coming forward and saying, hey, I'd like to know how my union spends its money. We as a union have an obligation to our members. We're a 501c tax-free organization. That we're supposed to open the books, not to mention, and I just brought it with me because I don't have it all memorized. As treasurer, my role is pretty defined in scope, and what's nice for me, I have a mission, it's all laid right out here in the bylaws. If a member asks to see the books, under treasurer responsibilities, which is section C, number 8, it says any member can have the ability to do that. So to Bobby's point, again, not to be long-winded, if we can come in as a team, be fiscally responsible, be more efficient, and still provide our members with a high level of service and protection, then why not? Why not? Because the reality is the perception out there is that the union hasn't been as transparent as it needs to be, and we want to come in and we want to try to fix that together.
I have 19 years in. It's just over those 19 years, I don't think the transparency has ever really been what we as the members would like to see. We would like to see what are all the transactions that are occurring, how are our board members being treated, what are they doing with the money, and what are they not doing with the money?
Sure. And remember, transparency doesn't mean improprieties, right? So we're not throwing shade on the current state board or the current treasurer. But clearly, if that's the message out there, then the current state board has a perception problem, okay? It could be two things. Maybe there's a couple things that shouldn't have happened and did, and there's clearly a perception problem. Because for me, and again, I'm not throwing shade, I've been asked multiple times over the last couple months, what is SHOPO doing, right? I've heard that many times. And I've also heard people say, where does our money go? Now, I don't take that personally. I'm currently part of SHOPO. I don't take that personal. I try to explain to them as best I can, but the reality is, even at the level I'm at, I don't have those answers. And I'm hoping that if given the opportunity personally, and also to work with the other individuals that are running, that we can educate ourselves as to what needs to do better, if we can do better, and then pass that along to our members because they deserve it. So transparency and fix the perception that the union is a little bit of a closed, kind of secretive kind of society where only certain people seem to know what's behind door number 1, door number 2.
Right. That's not what we want to
No.
transpire.
Right. And again, this is not an attack. This is simply members have questions, right? Members have questions. And when it comes to people's money, people have a lot more questions. And certain people, when it comes to money, they want straight talk, they want straight answers. And if they don't get straight talk and straight answers, they're not left with a feeling of feeling secure.
So in 2017, I did look at the financial records with the last treasurer, James Smith. And, I'm a big believer in accountability, transparency. And so when I did take a look at the financial records, there was a couple of things in there that came to question. So we have a history of a member being able to look at the financial records, and the things that was looked at was the credit card statements and such forth. In this time, in October last month, I did request to look at the financial records again, but this time I was denied. So to me, we're taking a step backwards in the transparency, and this is not to blame anybody, but this is an important subject that members are concerned about where the money is spent and how it's being spent. I understand that the union does audits, and an audit will definitely show, this lines up with this number. What the audit doesn't show, though, is the day-to-day expenses if you're spending money certain ways. For instance, first-class travel, and other things, and I can go down the list. But again, this is not to throw shade or to embarrass anybody. This is about us getting more transparent for the members, period, and accountability.
So my role as treasurer is defined in our state bylaws, right? So if we go to Article 3, Section 2 under C, the treasurer's responsibilities, to John's point, and I want to read, I don't want to paraphrase. This is number 8 here. Upon request, this is the treasurer's responsibility now. Upon request, present and exhibit to voting members of the corporation and to the state board of directors all the books, accounts, records, and evidence therefore kept by the treasurer. So for me, looking to be your next treasurer at the state board, this has given me a roadmap that I am obligated and bound by duty, that if members have questions about where the money is going, that we need to provide them those answers. And we need to do it in a very transparent and gracious way and not take it as a personal attack. This is money, this is business, and it's what we're supposed to do. And at the end of the day, John, to your point with flying first class, that may be currently allowed under union operating guidelines. But I think the question that we want to ask ourselves is that the best way to be a trustee of our members' money? Just because you can do it, does that mean you should? Right? That's what we're really, and again, if hopefully the next president of SHOPO, President Cavaco, decides that maybe we want to revisit those travel arrangements, then we can do that. But you bring up a great point. Just because current officials can do something and it's not violating any bylaws, maybe it's time to revisit that as a team and ask ourselves, if we're supposed to be stewards of our members' money, is that the best way to do it?
All right, Derek, you have any input onto the transparency, or what are you bringing to SHOPO with your
I'm totally in
candidacy?
favor of transparency and accountability for our members. Our members have been, they know that I'm running for this position, and I've been getting calls and meetings from our members asking their inputs and what we can do about it. And I'm taking down all the information, and if we are elected, I'm sure is going to bring it up to the table for vote and discussion. and bring up all the members' concerns.
Derek,
Yes.
Derek, you've been on the you were on my board when
I was,
in
and you
Honolulu,
asked me back in 2016. You asked me, "Hey, Derek, if you mind," and it caught me off of left field. I've never had interest, but I got elected in 2017 as a corporal's rep, and I went flying on this. I mean, it's interesting to see the members, our support for the members. Been on multiple critical incident cases, and just to see us there for an officer in the critical incident times, to see us there. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's an awesome feeling that I can get to see that they're not alone. We're with them.
you can't replicate that feeling.
You cannot.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so the next thing I wanted to talk about and get some input on from you guys is political endorsements. Okay, so with SHOPO endorsing our political candidates over the years, as far as I've been in the union, we've had the candidates come into the board meetings. They'll give their pitch. We look at who's running, and then we make the best possible decision based on what they represent and their character, right? And then when we make the endorsement, we just contribute to their campaign. I mean, we write the check, 2,000 here, 2,000 there, 2,000 to this person, 2,000 to that person, right? And a lot of times, what we see on their record, they don't vote they don't vote in our way. They don't vote for law enforcement. They don't go to in the legislature during their meetings. They're not standing up for us. They're not voting on the issues. Okay, 92F, the disclosure of our names when we get disciplined. Let's talk about the Steve Alm endorsement. Okay, we endorsed him for prosecutor, but it's obvious when our 3 officers got into that critical incident, and then it went before the grand jury. It came out of no bill, but then he goes ahead and prosecutes them for murder. So I don't want to get off point, but I guess my point is, I think the board needs to look at a different strategy, and I think a better strategy would be we vet the candidate, we make the endorsement, but we don't donate to their political campaign until they prove that they're with us. Whether that's if they come out publicly on us on a topic, or they vote in favor for law enforcement and our members. And then once we see that they're with us, then we'll go ahead and donate to their political campaign. And I think that's being a little bit more falls under fiscal responsibility a little bit. That way, hey, prove to us that you are actually for us first. And then, of course, we're going to donate to your political campaign and do whatever we can on our side.
Sure.
You guys got any comment on that? What's you guys thoughts? You guys agree, disagree?
Sean, do you have anything on you?
Yeah, thank you. For this topic, I agree with that in regards to our political endorsements. Currently I sit on the Honolulu board as the rep for SSD training and IU, and we endorsed Megan Cowley initially, and then the state board went ahead and endorsed Steve Alm. I personally sat with those 3 officers in that courthouse every day of their trial, and it was very disheartening to see what they had to go through for something that they were performing to keep the public safe and stop these violent criminals from, violating people. And it was also disheartening to know that the head of the prosecutor's office, would seek our endorsement and then completely flip under political pressure from above just to satisfy that agenda. And that right there, I believe a lot of our membership lost some faith in the union because of that. And, if we are, as a team, if we do get in as the state board, this is one way that we can try to hold these political people accountable and hold them to their word instead of just giving them the money and then they go off and they do whatever they want, and they backdoor us.
Yeah, see that you know, that's straight talk and it's needed. How's this, right? We endorse publicly a political candidate. Now, we don't have a crystal ball as to what that candidate is going to do, right? So let's just give that disclaimer. We try our best, but unfortunately, SHOPO, if we were playing baseball, they would probably need to go to batting practice a little more because we swing and miss a lot more than we connect on endorsements. With that being said, I don't know about that, Sean. I would like to know how Megan Cow, if the Honolulu board endorsed Megan Cow, then how did it go to ALM? That was just one thing that I was thinking of when you were talking. But the second thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, boys, when ALM came out publicly saying that he was going to go after our officers, did any union official take the podium and say, we disagree strongly? We disagree with this. There's a way that you can share with the public your concerns without offending everybody. My thing here is if we get on the state board, I feel that the gentleman I'm sitting next to, you can only get kicked so many times and ask nicely to stop getting kicked before you actually need to stand up and say enough is enough. For me, the state board needs to be more vocal about key issues. I'm not saying confrontational. I'm not saying aggressive, but they need to be comfortable that our members statewide, our message gets out, whether that's a political official who's coming after us, possible attorneys in this town that have something to say about our department, right? This and that. People are entitled to say what they want, but I think SHOPO at the state level has been quiet for too long. If we get an opportunity with you at the helm, okay, and everybody else sitting next to me, we owe it to our members that if there is perceived injustice or an attack against one of us, attack against one of us is an attack against all of us. And I think that's kind of been forgotten on many levels, especially this past year. So to your point, Sean, whoever we endorse needs to be held accountable if they start going off the reservation. Personally, for me, maybe nobody deserves to be endorsed because lately, this anti-cop rhetoric, this anti-police rhetoric from whoever is a certain party or whatnot, maybe it might be best that SHOPO keeps his mouth quiet and we just sit and watch and don't get behind anybody because we've been burned quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
That's my take on that, Sean. You had a great comment. So just wanted to add that. Thank you. Yeah.
Just wanted to add,
Sure.
I've been, when I was in the corporal's position, I was the political committee director. And, did countless hours in research and typing up bios from the candidates. And it was kind of a slap in the face, And what we endorsed, others didn't see in the same way. And I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to touch on that whole thing with the three officers getting, prosecuted again. It went to the grand jury. The grand jury said no bill, and I think as law enforcement, we're all okay with that. It's like, hey, okay, take this to the courts, show the grand jury your evidence, prosecutors. There's no defense in the grand jury. The grand jury has to come back with at least 50% or more, right, in order for a true bill. They didn't. And in my opinion, I was like, well, then how do you go forward beyond that and try to take this to trial? If you can't get half of the grand jury, how are you going to get 100% of a jury to convict someone? And I think that a lot of emotions ran high, and there were a lot of officers and family members out there in front of the courthouses, not protesting, but just showing their support, and I think that was great. And what would you guys as SHOPO members or board members do differently in that situation had it happened, or if it happens again next year or something similar to that, where the prosecutors kind of go off the beaten path of how prosecutions typically go and go up above and beyond to try to go after a police officer for political pressure?
I think it would be just like what Steve said. I think the union needs to be more vocal. You got to get out in front of it, and you gotta stay on the topic, as it goes on. But just like Steve said, we got to be more vocal. It's just how, if that incident would happen again, we go in front of the camera. We say what we need to do to defend the officers. Now, maybe we cannot say, things about the case because it's still going to trial, and we don't want to mess that up to try and sway the trial one way or the other. But definitely, I think media wise and comment wise, we gotta increase our exposure, a little bit or a lot more actually.
If I may. You always want to be as amicable as possible and work things out, but there are times where subjects come up and is completely wrong against the officers. Let's be real. What Steve Alm did was, in my opinion, it was very inappropriate. And once it went to true bill, that's where, and the public said no bill, that should have ended right there. And it didn't. And there might be more coming down the road. And I believe a union needs to be strong to stand up for its members always. And what Bobby is saying is absolutely correct. Get in front of the cameras. Definitely be strong as a front for the members, because those officers, and I'm going to tell you, I was in patrol, District 4 commander on 3rd Watch. My personnel was very much affected by, and I'm sure island-wide was affected by the prosecutor's decision. These officers did their job. And now people are at work and they're worried to go out there and do their jobs because they don't want to get in trouble because they're not getting the support. It's the narrative, the mainland narrative has come to Hawaii, and everybody now was taken aback, and they were like, LT, why are we going to go out there and we're going to do this and that? We're just going to get in trouble. I had to explain to the watch, hey, we have a job to do. We always have to be there for the public in this. But it is a sentiment that resonated with everybody in patrol and even in the department. They want to be backed up by their union officials when times like this come about. It's very important, very important.
Another topic I wanted to touch on with you guys recently came out in the news, maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, about the graduating class at the Recruit Academy, and how it was just, there was a dozen or so out of a class of 30-something or 40-something. But the attrition rate was huge, and that kind of lended into the bigger problem of overall recruitment and retention in the police department. Is that something that SHOPO as a union you think should be taking an active role in, either trying to convince members of the public to fill our ranks, or is it something that maybe it's just an administrative issue or society issue?
Thank you for that question. That's a good question. Because I represent training, I actually saw that article, and I did go and talk to some of the training staff out there, and a lot of the personal reasons that were given, they basically weren't told. It was just, I'm leaving for personal reasons. What they were, we really might never know. I can only guess that with all the media coverage on Lindani Mieni, on the Kalakaua shooting, and other critical incidences statewide, who would want to be a police officer these days if you really care about that? That scrutiny actually takes a lot of place in your mind. I think the involvement of the union in these things is very important. And if the union was more vocal and more out there, it would give more confidence to these incumbent officers, knowing that, hey, you know what? I'm going to go out there every day and do my job. And my union, who I pay to represent me and give me all these benefits, is going to do what they have to do to make sure that I can go home to my family and have have a good thought in my mind that I'm going to be taken care of if I'm put in the same position as those other officers. So that's my take on it.
Well, Eo, another answer to that question where the union can help out is obviously getting good contracts, so that we can increase that base that wants to be, police officers. Because let's, it's not a lie. We need to pay our officers more. And in our past history of SHOPO, it's always got us good contracts. I've been through 3 negotiations. I've been through the 2011 to 2017 contract. I've sat on that negotiating committee. I sat on this contract that just ended in July in 2017 to 2021, and I'm on the negotiating committee for this third contract that's ongoing. And, I think we need to continue what our previous boards, did to negotiate the contracts. And it's a process that it's easy to understand. You hire the economist to get the economy report. You show that there's pockets of money that's hidden, in the city and the state, because they hide their money everywhere, but they got money. And the key is that you can show that they can pay. Okay? And if you can show that's one argument you make, show that they have the money in the coffers and the ability to pay. And the other argument you make on the other side is the position that our departments are in. All 4 departments statewide are currently short of officers. Kauai is short, Maui is short, Honolulu is short, Big Island is short. So you have to make that argument in the negotiations, along with the calls of service. What we're going through. Everybody's got to come to work with a camera now. And you have a camera strapped to you every day. You tell me that doesn't deserve a higher pay. You tell me what other profession goes to work every day and you have to have a camera on you. I'm sure there's one, but right now I can't think of one. But we can do it. We can bring those contracts. I think we can deliver. We just follow what the previous officials did a fabulous job with. If we can continue that, I think great. We'll increase, get more people to become police officers if we can get those good contracts.
If I can just add something to Bobby, I was thinking in my mind, what position goes to work with a camera? A photographer. No. So
Good one.
Right. Yeah. Dun-dun-dun. So Ewan's question was a great one, because there is right now, to Sean's point, who really wants to be police right now, right? To Bobby's point, are there careers that pay more? Now, we could say that individuals choose our profession not to get rich, but for other more personal reasons, but they need to have a good quality wage. For me personally, and I'm not a police administrator, but I think moving forward as a department, we cannot focus on just filling P numbers. We need quality people coming out. So the first thing you said when you said only 12 graduate, I was like, well, let's hope those 12 are actually decent. Okay. I don't care if we lose 70% of the class. The accountants and the fiscal people and the people that deal with the money, they might be concerned about that. But here's the way you got to look at it. Let's hope these 12 were the best and brightest, right? Because from the cheap seats where I'm at, not being a police administrator, I want to say this delicately. We're police officers. We have to do a lot of things well, and we have to get it right the first time, and we have to do that under pressure. This job clearly is not for everyone. So if we believe in the training academy and those that run it, we shouldn't question how small the classes are. We should actually celebrate it and praise the training academy for saying you did your job. Because if they're pushing out people that don't deserve to be there, aren't qualified to be there, that's reckless and dangerous. So I'm actually saying, good job, Training Academy, because hopefully these 12 people are worth it, and the other ones, no disrespect to them, they're just not cut out to be the police, right? So a lot of factors. Public sentiment, compensation, and then how are we training them? I don't think in any capacity we should lower the training standards. You're doing those people a disservice, okay? I'm not going to speak to how the academy is being run now, but I'm just going to say I think it's a little different now than it was when we all went it through. Now, for better or for worse, I don't think we should lower the standards.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you that we shouldn't lower the standards of our training, shouldn't lower the standards of our academy. There was a process of open book tests and stuff like that was coming about too at the academy. I
Is
don't know
that
if that
happening?
went through or did not go through. I don't know, but that was being spoken about. But without lowering our standards of recruitment applicants and going through the academy process, how do we get more people to come into that job, that come into this job, and not only come into this job, but once they're here, as they're going through their year to year being on patrol or being whatever job they're taking, what convinces them to stay? You know, I mean, if they're not getting compensated and if they can go work at other positions or go to the mainland and get recruited going to the mainland, and you know, one of my buddies is one of our classmates is in Seattle, and he's a footman making as much as I do
See, yeah.
in a much lower, you know, cost of living location.
As you're talking and I'm listening intently to what you're saying, I'm thinking to myself, morale. I think, and these boys here can speak for themselves, I think currently we actually have a morale issue within the union and a morale issue within the department. I'm not pointing fingers as to how we got there, but I think we need to address that. And to your point with retention, if the pay isn't that great and the public's putting pressure on our members, the at least we can do as a union is give them the best working environment possible. And if that means interacting with our police administration more effectively, more consistently, and letting them know we're not just going to go away, that's important. Because he was good police, right? He was good police, and we lost good police because of compensation, quality of life, maybe less drama, I don't know. But if we're not getting people to come in, then we sure need to pay attention to how they feel when they're coming to the workplace to keep them here, right? Yeah.
Right, because I mean, I wholeheartedly believe that, hey, if those 12 or 13 or 14 recruits that graduated, if they're the best and they're going to stay in for the next 30 years, great. But how does that help if there's only 3 or 4 academy classes to keep the overall numbers of officers to where it should be? You know, right now we're running with almost 300 vacancies. You know, how do we go about filling that, and how do we, as a union, I guess, convince people to stay and convince people to join?
Thank you. I think Steve touched on an incredible subject of morale. When you take a look at morale, you have to not only look at the shortage of officers, you have to look at how much people are going out, retirees. Why are a lot of retirees going out? A lot of it has to do with morale. Now, I can tell you, members in this room right here, not a lot of people know about this, but during Chief Ballard's last days in there actually was a topic that came up in a Honolulu board meeting, an emergency session, and it was actually a vote of no confidence that came up, and members were involved in this from the Honolulu board. Now, that vote never took place, but the interesting part about that, because now you got to remember, why did that vote take place in the first place? It was because everybody was coming to us with the lieutenant's workload assessment, with low performer, with rotating schedules was the big one, and people were wondering, wait, why are we going to rotating? It makes no sense. Now, a lot of the old timers, maybe the retirees, would definitely think that rotating is a really good thing, well-rounded. But I can tell you, I've worked both sides of the fence. When you're not on a permanent schedule, your body gets tore up. Permanent schedule, health-wise, is a lot better. So health, because that's why we went there in the first place, was health reasons. Health, to me, trumps everything. Absolutely. But the interesting part about it is when this subject was brought up, and it was a hard subject to bring up. Within 48 hours, the rotating schedule was taken off the table. We are still on permanent schedule. And we were really slated. It looked like we were going to go down to rotating schedules. I mean, they were talking about dates of when it was going to be implemented and everything. So to the point of what Steve brought up with morale, when the union stood up for this, the Honolulu board now stood up for this and said, hey, we need to go and take a look at this direction here. Just those simple talks alone, within 48 hours, that was taken off the table. That is a win for patrol, period. So morale is one of the biggest issues that we have in the department right now, especially in patrol. And You know, I think with the union having this, when members look up to their union leadership, they want to know that the union leadership has their backs, not only for contracts, but for everything involved with that. And this group of people right here, I'm so proud of, to be honest with you. It's a good group of people. Majority of everyone here is patrol-based. You know, a lot of experience in patrol. And listen, not the kind of, you know, no offense to anyone, I'm not trying to throw shade, but not the kind that park under the tree and don't do much. You know, I know each and every one of you. These two sergeants over here, I mean, Derek Pa, Steve Keel, they're in District 1. Arguably, especially Third Watch, the busiest district in the island. They go through so much on a day-to-day basis. You know, Bobby over here, he has a stellar career in patrol, traffic, DUIs. Sean over here, hardworking officer in patrol, awesome. Now he has SWAT under his belt, about to be promoted to sergeant. That is awesome stuff there. You know, it's tremendous. So what I'm saying is, this team assembled right here, all of us, is an amazing team that, even though some of us are in specialized, because I left last month, I'm in communications now, but I see a whole different side to it. So it actually brings even a little bit more to the table, because I can see that. But, you know, we have Mel Hurley, wasn't here to attend today, but she's awesome. She's in training. We have the whole gambit here covered, you know? So I couldn't be prouder. But what I really want to emphasize to everybody is, this is a team, and it's important that we get the team together. You know, I know a lot of people have a lot of friends who are running, and you know, there's a lot of good people running. And I appreciate everybody who's running, because it shows that they're willing to put their name into the hat to try and make things better for the members. I appreciate the current individuals who are on the state board who have given up and sacrificed a lot. This is what it is about, though. A team coming in now with new ideas, new, fresh, like-minded, you know? I'm not saying we're always gonna, oh my God, everyone has to agree. No, it's fine to have different viewpoints, and that's great. But at the end of the day, this is for the members. This is for backing us up, not just contracts, for everything. And I think when you have a solid team put together, it's important. But I can't stress enough, in order for us to realize Bobby's vision, it cannot just be Bobby winning or one or two more people. No, we need the entire team to win, because that way we can affect change from day one. From day one.
Well said, John. Well said. Yeah, well said.
I'm proud of each and every one of you guys here. And I'm you know, as the lieutenant here, and let me touch on that. Let me stress on the importance, gang, of this. Bobby is a lieutenant. I am a lieutenant. Steve and Derek are sergeants. Sean is about to become a sergeant. That's very important, because rank understands rank. So when you're making, and I'm not throwing shade against anybody here, okay? I appreciate everybody who's running. But when you have rank on the table in the state board, it's very important, because if you were never a detective, a sergeant, or a lieutenant, with all respect to others, you do not know what a lieutenant, a sergeant, and a detective goes through. So it's super important to have rank when it comes to the key positions. That is my take on it, but you know, I think I'm pretty spot on when it comes to that.
I would. That's absolutely spot on, John. And EO, just to tie in something, if I can, to John's point, right? You talked about what can the union do to help either recruitment or morale. Recruitment, that's going to have to be something that me personally would have to think about, and I couldn't just spout off a quick answer to help out with recruitment, because I think that's a bigger issue than just, you know, off the top. As far as morale goes, let's be real clear, okay? SHOPO union officials are in a unique position because they need to represent the membership, but they also are subordinates within a paramilitary organization of the people that they're talking to. So for example, if I'm in a meet and confer as the sergeant's rep on the Honolulu board, which is what I do, I'm interacting with sometimes the assistant chief, the deputy chief, majors. I'm obviously a lower rank than they are. So there could be some situations where you want to get your point across, you want to do it in a certain way. Here's the reality. For anybody that chooses to become a union official, they have to accept responsibility that there will be times, for sure, that there needs to be tough conversations with police administration and or political officials. I'm not saying disrespectful communication. I'm not saying overly aggressive. I'm not saying disrespectful. Union people, union officials that want to represent our member base, and these boys around me have it, okay? They are willing to stand up for the members and not worry about how it could affect themselves as an officer. That's what's unique about our union, is your union officers are actually subordinates of the people we're trying to negotiate with. But here's the deal. So what? We're going to go in there and do our job, and however the outcome goes is how it goes. And I think, how can we help morale? If the fourth floor puts out policies that we feel are not in our members' best interest, we make that known. We communicate with them. We have a dialogue. Now, I'm not saying we're always going to win, but this group of people right here running will make sure that the fourth floor understands if the union doesn't agree with something, and we'll communicate that to our members. I think that to come full circle with all that, I think that's how we can help with morale. As far as how the union can help with recruitment, again, I think that's a conversation we could have at a later time. But for morale, stand up for, and right now, patrol is just getting hammered. The staffing is unbelievable. Now, I'm not in police administration, right, boys? But, oh, it's COVID. We don't have funds. We don't have this. Slow down. Are our city streets worse than they were? And if the answer to that is yes, then how can we justify lower staffing? Okay, you don't need to be a mathematician to ask yourself, is Honolulu the same city it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago? If the answer to that is no, and you're running your districts with the same staffing you did then, what's wrong with this, right? And when patrol officers get overworked, does that help morale? No. So I think if we get the opportunity to be on the state board, and again, I haven't sat in this position, we'll navigate that when we get to it. We need to discuss with police administration seriously about patrol staffing and how much we want to be fiscally responsible. I get it as an agency, but at what cost? At what cost?
Now, Steve, the only thing I want to add to that is if we get in, we're not only going to do that with Honolulu, we're going to do that with all 4 counties.
And amen, because John was telling
Hawaii, Maui, Big Island.
John has experience with that. He was saying that actually with their equipment, their patrol vehicles, 200,000 miles. I mean, yeah, that's, please, absolutely, don't let me forget about that.
No, I just wanted to. The members know that. Yeah. We're not just going to focus on Honolulu. Right.
You're 100% correct.
If I may. Let me have a few. Absolutely right. So let me touch bases right here with morale, with staffing. So right now, members here in the Honolulu board, we did file a grievance on behalf of the supervisors for supplanting with acting positions. That is currently going through step 4 arbitration. It's very important when we go about acting, because I'll give you some examples. You move up a sergeant so a lieutenant doesn't have to come in on overtime. Now, let's take District 1 for an example with Steve and Derek. That's really bad, because when a sergeant goes up, now the other sergeants have to maybe field 2 sectors. And if anyone knows what sergeants now have to deal with, and especially lieutenants in patrol now have to deal with, you have body cam, all these policies were pursued. The special duty policies where you have to check every day of the sites. The supervisors have so much on their plates. When they have to watch and supervise, instead of 5 or 6, it now goes to maybe 11 or 12. The span of control is insane with that. That is a recipe for disaster for the sergeants. That's a recipe for disaster for the lieutenants. And, if you get into that position and you don't really own it yet, you might not have the same attitude as when you took the test and you went to the lieutenant stripes class to understand even more vicarious liability. Also, what happens to save money is they may move the corporals up, especially in the country stations, to work the desk. Now, what that does is say you have a minimum staffing of, 16. Okay, well, if you have 17 that day, well, we're going to move the corporal in there to save overtime. And I understand about being fiscally responsible. However, now you have, instead of 17 on the road, you have 16 on the road, and it shortens it. It makes the pool a little bit smaller there. So these are all things that when you take a look at the platform, you know, I know a lot, some individuals are saying, well, what have you guys done in the past? I can tell you, the Honolulu board, the members here sitting at this table today have stood in the fire for the members and have fought for trying to improve the morale of the department. And what I really am most excited for in this election is the chance to not only do that for Honolulu, but to do it for Kauai, to do it for the Big Island, to do it for Maui. Listen, I talked to some officers on the outer island. The Big Island's radio is atrocious from what I understand. It's an officer safety issue. These are things that we have to look at. You know, the Big Island told me that their motor cars, and I never put two and two together. You know, we have motor cars here. Within 1 year, they're driving 40,000 miles. I mean, when you think about the wear and tear on a motor car, that's something that we don't understand in Honolulu. They understand it on the Big Island. Maui, the blue and white cars are 200,000-300,000 miles, and so are the blue and whites on top of the Big Island. You know, every island is going to have its own unique challenges. And the one thing that I want to let the brother and sisters on the outer islands know, that this board appreciates you that is coming in. We want your guys' vote. It's very important because we are going to not only take care of Honolulu, we're all one team. Period. We are SHOPO, State of Hawaii Organization of Police Officers, not Honolulu officers. We on the state board are going to represent all the membership. Period.
All right, guys. As a SHOPO member, I got this letter in the mail the other day. It's from outgoing President Malcolm Lutu. And it seemed pretty good. And then I turned it over and I was just like, whoa. I'm not sure I agree wholeheartedly with the contents of this letter. And I just kind of wanted to get you guys' take. I'm sure you guys have all gotten this letter, but talking about anti-vaccine / anti-union sentiment, is like, how is that one and the same when it's not? Like, you can be anti-vaccine and pro-union. You can be pro-vaccine and anti. I mean, it's not a be-all, end-all. And you know, there's some other things in the letter that I was just kind of thrown back by, but I wanted to get your guys' opinion as to the contents of the letter and the outgoing from the outgoing president here. And was this something that needed to be sent out in the mail, or is this something that should have been, you know, posted to social media or emailed out to everybody with their own email addresses, or what? I don't know.
Actually, I think those are pretty good questions. I also received the letter yesterday in the mail, and being the candidate that's running for treasurer, the first thing I thought of is money. So I got the envelope and I said, okay, I guess, Bobby, this would go out to everybody, right?
Yes, every single member.
So that's give or about 2,700 of us?
Currently, just shy of 2,700.
Okay, so for me, the first thing I thought of is, did this letter go out to 2,700 people? If the answer to that is yes, as the money guy, I'm saying, was that 50 cents a letter? Because if that was 50 cents a letter, that's about $1,350. So then it got my wheels turning a little bit. And I read the letter, and I'll get to the contents in a second. I'm just talking money. Then I said to myself, do we have the civilian personnel in SHOPO office printing these out and stuffing 2,700 envelopes? Probably not. So then we probably brought an outside agency in to do this work. So let's just say that was $1,500. So we're at $1,500 plus $1,300. We're right around $3,000. So let's just say all in, the members, our union, may I?
Yeah.
Paid our union, the members paid $3,000 for this document from our outgoing president. Okay. I said to myself, could our outgoing president have delivered his message in a way that was more economically responsible? Could this have been done via social media? Could outgoing President Lutu have done a video? Could he have said what he wanted to say and done it at a cheaper expense to our members? That's the first thing I thought of. Yeah. Then I said to myself, if we spent $3,000 of our own money, this letter should be inspirational. It should bring people together. It should be from our current leader saying his goodbyes and encouraging us. Yeah? Because we paid $3,000 for it, give or take, right? This letter should be written in a way that inspires everybody, brings people together, and motivates you to want to work hard. And if you're proud of your union, then you're going to put this up on your refrigerator next to your kids or your grandbaby's drawing, and you're going to leave it up there because every time you see the SHOPO logo, it makes you proud. Yeah? In theory, especially since we're paying money, that's what this letter should do. Does it inspire? Does it motivate? Does it bring people together? Anybody that knows me knows that I try to be respectful, but I say what I'm thinking. For me, this letter did none of that, okay? I read this letter first after I crunched the numbers and realized it cost us about $3,000. I read the letter. This is my view, okay? This letter, for me, made me a little bit angry. I felt it was divisive, inaccurate, and unnecessary. If outgoing President Lutu wanted to communicate with his members that he was going to ride off into the sunset, he could have done it in a different way. Because for me, as somebody that serves under him within the union and also as a paying member, he got thrown off the horse. Whatever he was trying to do with this, it lost its way. And I also have some other questions. Again, this is not a personal attack. I want to be the treasurer, so I'm talking money now. If this was $3,000, this letter then, the approval for this expense should have been brought to a state board vote. Follow me, okay? It's part of the bylaws. You spend over $1,000, it's supposed to be a vote by the state board. So I have to assume that our board isn't going to violate policies, so there must have been a vote. So if that's the case, then the incumbents that are running knew what the outgoing president was put out. Did they agree with this? Did they support this message? Now, they're not here to defend themselves, so I'm not going to go down that road too much, but here's my thing. If the incumbents knew that this letter went out, do they feel that was the best way to handle it? Let's say the outgoing president wrote this letter and the current state board says, we knew nothing about it. This was done without our knowledge. Well, that's another problem. So here's my thing, right, gang? Whether the current board knew about this or didn't know about it, that's a problem. Yeah? You spent $3,000 to get a piece of paper in the mail. Was it uplifting? Was it inspiring? Did it make you want to love the union? Or, like me, did it get you frustrated, get you annoyed, put you in a bad mood, and think that it was decisive and you had a negative experience? For me, it was a negative experience, right? But again, the numbers, we spent money on this. This could have been done a different way. And you know something? I'm going to speak without a filter. I have this document at home. I can't just throw it in the rubbish can. We spent $3,000 for it. You know what I'm going to do with this letter? I'm going to walk down the hallway to my condo. I'm going to knock on my neighbor's door. I'm going to offer this document with some other newspapers to assist my neighbor in potty training her puppy. That's what I'm going to do with this document. Because you know what? It's not pleasing to my eyes to read it. It puts me in a bad mood. It attacks our members that are unvaccinated. I'm not going to sit here and read it and pick quotes. But for me, running for state board, I would never allow a document like this to be mailed out to our members, no matter what the current president thought he wanted to do. This is my personal choice. People listening to my words think I'm making an attack. No, I'm not. I'm talking about my feelings. And remember, When you put a SHOPO letterhead on here, it's not about your personal feelings anymore. You're representing an amazing police organization for the state of Hawaii. So you need to remember that. Yeah. That I appreciate the opportunity. I don't mean to get too passionate about that, but this was, all this did was spend about $3,000 and put me in a bad mood. And I can't speak for everybody else, but you know where this, when I get home, you know exactly what I'm doing with my copy. It's going with the newspaper to help potty train the puppy down the hall.
Well, why don't we talk about, because that's what's I think is dividing our membership, which is the vaccine, anti-vax, non-anti-vax. And the bottom line is it shouldn't matter. I'm vaccinated, you know. Steve?
I'm not.
I am.
Derek's vaccinated. You're vaccinated.
I am not.
You're not vaccinated. Okay, so both of you are not vaccinated. Really? Who cares?
Amen to that.
Who cares?
Exactly.
Okay? The job of the union is to represent everyone. Vax, not vax. So what the union needs to do is represent everybody. It's everybody. It doesn't matter what the view is, what political party you belong to. And I think where the union can do a better job is communication. You know, it's communication. And whether we have a small group of officers that are unvaxxed or it's a large group of officers unvaxxed, the union needs to do its best to represent everybody and do whatever the union can for them until there's nothing left to do. Nothing, it's the end of the line. Legally, a part of the CBA, the contract, everything, right? That's my take on it.
A lot of younger officers approached us, and they're hurting. You know, they felt like they're going to lose their jobs, their career they love. You know, people got to understand something. Right now, the world is crazy. So prior to vaccinations, we were coming to work every single day, strapping it up, whether you're a police officer, fireman, ambulance driver, doctor, nurse. Everyone was heroes. Everyone strapped it up, came to work. We're the same, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, covering an officer off in a fight, on a traffic stop. We're all brothers and sisters. But when this thing went down, we had our mayor, who we endorsed as SHOPO heavy, right? Come up with a mandate that the other counties now, they were able to test, but we can't test. Well, I'm sorry, we test, but we have to get some kind of exemption. So what that did was, if you don't get an exemption, does that mean you're going to get fired? Now, some people actually did get fired because they didn't want to do certain things. But that being said, it put a lot of stress on the families. Now, absolutely, my opinion, all of the unions, not just SHOPO, all of them, HGA, FIRE, all the acronyms, you name it down the road, right? None of them came on the news and really denounced this. You know, you take a look at the mainland departments, you take a look at Chicago unions, you look at New York unions, I think San Diego was another one, big places. They are fighting for their members. But the rest of us only saw, we were told, well, there's not much we can do because the emergency proclamation basically suspended all of the, what is the word that I'm looking for?
Suspended Chapter 89.
Chapter 89. Correct. But that doesn't suspend the voice of the union from going on the news and saying, we are against this. This is our members. We have to support them. It doesn't stop the unions from contributing campaigns or money to this cause. The officers, the firefighters, whoever is involved in the city and county had to pull money out of their own pockets to hire an attorney. It was a very, very tough situation for families, and people felt abandoned. I'm going to tell you straight. And I'm going to tell you something. That man sitting across from me, Steve Keel, he's my brother. I mean, you know, there was a group of us, and we didn't do this to run for the union. You know, this wasn't anything like, oh, we're going to do this so we can get in the union, right? Or oh, you know what? Steve and John went because we couldn't go. We were busy that day. If other union officials are saying these kind of things, which I hope not. Group of us went in and spoke with the mayor and the managing director. You know, we thought this meeting was going to be 30 minutes, ended up being 3 hours. In that meeting, the mayor verbally committed that he was going to approve all of the exemptions. Now, we're still going and fighting through the exemption process, and it's taking a lot longer than we want. But to date, I don't know of any, at least in the police department, anyone who's had their exemptions denied. Now, some people are having to jump through hoops, which is unfortunate, you know. But, you know, these are subjects that resonated island-wide, you know. And I do believe that SHOPO on this matter did not do the best interest for all of the members, and a lot of people felt abandoned. And you know, I'm not trying to throw shade, but people need to understand. You know, there's a lot of people who are vaccinated who will say, just take the shot. You guys are causing problems. It is not that easy. There's different levels of what someone is comfortable with their bodies. There is legitimate religious beliefs against this. There is serious medical conditions where you should not be getting these things. So that's a whole different topic. What I want to go on is from the union perspective. This, to me, was a moment that the union could have shined, and they didn't take that advantage, and it became divisive like never before. There's never been a subject that has been more divisive than this right here. So this group of individuals who are running is about always backing up and supporting all of their members.
You know, I think that what we can do a lot better is communication with the membership. And, you know, when we look at communication with the membership as a dues-paying member, you should always be informed of what your union is doing. And I think what we need to do as an organization, we need to do a lot of things. We need to redo our app. We need to redo our website. You know, we got to increase probably our social media platforms because now that's the way it's going. But I guess my idea that I would like to discuss with the board is, you see, with the way the state board is, the way it's organized, 11 directors, we're all full-time policemen, right? We wear two hats. We work our regular job and we do the union business on the side. And so a lot of times in the past, what the problem has been is that we had these, you know, we had Facebook, we have the app, we have the website. It's hard for the current members on the board to manage it because you're working all day and then you're still trying to manage the app and the website on the same time. So there's not enough time to fit that in your schedule because especially with police, you got new recruits coming in and you got the old timers going out, retiring. So it's a constant coming in, coming out. And on the media platform with the type of information that the union gives, it has to be secured content, you know, it should only be members accessing that information. So those platforms need to be maintained. So what I'm trying to say is I think the board should look at getting a firm or a company to manage it, an outside agency, a third-party company. And that way, the board, all it has to do is just give the content out. This is what we want to say. This is what we want to tell the members. This is what we want to post, you know? And then take all of that and you kick it to the company, and the company manages the website. The company manages the app. And that way, I think if we can increase that right there, we'll do a hell of a lot for the members. You know, keep everybody connected statewide.
I think we were talking two boys off camera before we were rolling. Somebody brought up a good idea about Zoom calls and allowing members to participate. Remember
so
that?
I want to touch upon that.
Yeah.
Because in the document that I wrote on Facebook with my vision, I want to increase the participation of the membership statewide at our board meetings. I want to put in there in the agenda either a half an hour or 45 minutes every meeting, before every state board meeting or every chapter meeting. The chapter or the board will blast out the meeting date and time every month, and before the meeting, and that way the members know when the meeting is. And if any member wants to address the board, whether it's to discuss any issue, any topic, any decision that the board made or didn't make, then they have their right to address the board. And if they can't make it in person, then we'll take them via Zoom. So, we'll take 45 minutes or an hour. We'll reserve that time of the meeting that the members can call in, and they can, talk to the board, whatever they want to say or discuss. So I think that in itself is something that I think we should do. I think that we should be a lot more visible on the outer islands. But in the current board's defense, we're in a pandemic. We had travel restrictions. So within the last, year and a half or so, it was hard for the board to get out to the outer islands because of the travel restrictions. So everything was pretty much done via Zoom. And, when this pandemic gets done, hopefully soon, and everything eases up, we will definitely get back to rotating our meetings to the outer islands so that we can touch and, get to know those members too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, boys. When we get in there, if we are fortunate enough to get selected as this group here, right, and we get in there and we make an assessment, I want to make sure that the members are not asking the question, "What is SHOPO doing?" If members are asking what SHOPO is doing, that's showing that there is a current communication problem. Mm-hmm. Now, the current leadership could say there's no communication problem, but whether it's actual or not, the perception is SHOPO communication needs to get better. I support everything you just said. We've talked about that off camera. I think those are great ideas. We need to utilize the technology. If we need to spend a little money to make our members more informed, it's worth it. If our members are more informed, they're going to believe in the union more. They're going to be able maybe to help us and give us feedback as to the direction with you and your board should take the union. So I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Yeah, absolutely. Not only just with the money stuff, right? With the money. I say this sincerely. I've been asked if we have a beach house. I've been asked if there's a condo in Waikiki. I've been hearing people say we have a North Shore beach house. Now, again, I'm going to find this out and I'm going to put it out there for the numerous people that have asked me, does SHOPO have any other real estate other than the whole property, the property right next to Ho? And again, this is just a little bit of humor in a serious topic, but again, communication key so our members can feel like they're included. And if they're included, if I can, a lot of people want to harp on, certain current union officials want to harp on a lack of participation from our member base. What you always hear is, nobody wants to participate. Nobody wants to participate. Maybe they would participate more if they felt that they were included. And if we improve communication, that way we can motivate people to contribute to the union, right? Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, so.
That's where's Derek?
As running for director at large, we myself and Sean and Mel, we in the discussions and we absorb all of this and we give our feedback, and I'm just looking forward to this process of standing up and representing our members, fighting for them, and just do the best job that we can do for everybody and be transparent out there.
Thank you again for having us. Just to reiterate what Derek said, director at large, we're gonna basically, as a group, make sure our membership gets what they pay for. We're gonna equally defend and represent you no matter what your thoughts or opinions are, whether they're different or not. We're gonna come out there and we're gonna help you. And I think as a group, we can also look into and start to build a camaraderie back amongst not just Honolulu, but the entire state. So I would rather just end on that for myself, getting more camaraderie back amongst the men and women.
John.
Thank you again for allowing us this platform to talk. This is a team that all the members of SHOPO can be proud of that was assembled right here. This group is going to fight for all of your rights, and I couldn't be more proud of them. They're my brothers and sisters, and I love them to death. I'm going to end on that.
SHOPO members statewide, I'm running to be your next SHOPO president, along with these people, sitting with me here today. And I just wanted to say, me and Don Famuina, we're classmates in the academy, and I have no ill will to Don, and I love him as a brother. I just feel that I'm more qualified. That's all. I'll just say it like that. And after this election, if Don and the candidates that he endorses, they win, I think all of us here, me included, we will support them. We will definitely support them taking the organization forward, because they're our brothers and sisters. And, we're all one team. We're all one team no matter what. We shouldn't be divided, in these tough times, okay, especially with how the public is looking at law enforcement, how, we're taking beatings every week from Civil Beat, Hawaii News Now, you name it, we're getting it. And yes, sometimes it's mistakes from our members, but that's why we have a union, to back up the members, support the members. And I just want to wish everybody luck in the election. And for those of you that are watching this, please tell your beat partners, tell your friends, vote. Get the ballot. You're going to get it in the mail. Put your vote in. We normally have less than 30% participate. And, in this day and age, we need your vote. So get your ballot and put your vote in. Thank you.
All right, everybody. I want to thank you so much for having the courage to come on today and just share. And thank you so much for taking on the responsibility of running for the board. I think any one of you would be great at the job that you're running for. And I wish you guys all the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting
you.
us.
Thank you
Thanks for
guys
hosting
so
us.
much.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Shakas, everybody.